Tan Songyun and Liu Xueyi turn a Qixi wedding into a story of change. A Qixi Festival promotional image featuring Tan Songyun and Liu Xueyi has drawn attention for its striking traditional wedding atmosphere. Tan Songyun appears in an elegant red bridal look, while Liu Xueyi shares the frame with her, immediately creating a romantic impression. At first glance, the image seems to offer exactly what audiences might expect from a period romance. Beautiful costumes, a traditional wedding setting, and two leading actors whose visual combination creates strong chemistry. But there may be more to this moment than romance alone. The story surrounding Lanxiang Rugu is described as involving family conflicts, changing social positions, difficult choices, personal survival, and the gradual transformation of its female lead. That context gives the Qixi wedding imagery another layer of meaning. Rather than simply asking whether Tan Songyun and Liu Xueyi look convincing as a couple, viewers may have a more interesting question. What does this wedding represent for Tan Songyun's character? A wedding that may mark a new chapter. The timing of the promotional material is particularly effective. Qixi is strongly associated with romance, making wedding imagery an obvious way to capture attention. Tan Songyun's red costume immediately establishes a festive and traditional mood. Liu Xueyi's appearance beside her strengthens the romantic focus and naturally encourages viewers to think about the relationship between their characters. However, the available information does not confirm that the wedding represents a simple happy ending. In a story involving family disputes and personal struggles, a wedding can also become the beginning of a more complicated chapter. Marriage can change a character's responsibilities, relationships, and position within a family. For someone who has already experienced a difficult journey, entering a new stage of life may bring new opportunities as well as new challenges. That is why the promotional image can be viewed as more than a romantic snapshot. The red wedding costume may symbolize celebration, but the larger story gives the image a sense of uncertainty. What happens after the wedding could be just as important as the wedding itself. Tan Songyun's character journey is the bigger question. One of the most interesting elements of the story is the female lead's development. The character is described as beginning from a relatively humble and cautious position. She must learn how to survive in a complicated environment, understand the people around her, and deal with family relationships and changing circumstances. Over time, the character is expected to become more mature and increasingly capable of making her own decisions. This kind of transformation can be more compelling than a simple rise in social status. A character's growth is not necessarily about suddenly becoming powerful. It is about learning from experience. Someone who once had to follow other people's decisions may eventually learn how to make her own choices. Someone who was once cautious about speaking may gradually become more confident. Someone who once depended on others may eventually understand that her own judgment can determine her future. That process gives the character a deeper emotional foundation. For Tan Songyun, this type of role could also provide opportunities to show changes through subtle performance rather than exaggerate expressions. A character does not always need a dramatic speech to show that she has changed. Sometimes a different look, a pause before answering, a change in posture, or a more controlled tone can communicate years of experience. If the drama successfully presents those small changes, audiences may feel that they are witnessing a genuine transformation, rather than simply watching a character receive increasingly elaborate costumes. The 7-outfit concept adds another visual layer. The supplied information also highlights the idea of 7 outfits representing stages of the character's development. Costume is naturally important in period dramas, but its value goes beyond visual beauty. Different clothing can communicate social position, circumstances, confidence, and maturity. If the character begins in simpler styling and gradually moves toward a more sophisticated appearance, those changes can visually accompany her development. But the costume alone cannot create the transformation. The performance has to change as well. If the character wears a more mature outfit but behaves exactly as she did at the beginning, the visual progression may feel superficial. On the other hand, if her expression, behavior, and decision-making develop alongside her appearance, the costumes can become meaningful symbols of her journey. This is where Tan Songyun's subtle acting style becomes especially important. The strongest transformation may not be the moment when the character receives a higher position. It may be the moment when she realizes that she no longer has to allow other people to decide her life. That shift from passivity to personal choice could become one of the most important elements of the story. What about Tan Songyun and Liu Xueyi's chemistry? The Qixi image naturally puts the relationship between Tan Songyun and Liu Xueyi at the center of attention. Their traditional wedding styling creates an immediate sense of romantic compatibility. Promotional photography can make a pairing look appealing in a single frame, especially when the costumes and atmosphere reinforce the relationship. But strong screen chemistry requires more than an attractive poster. The characters need an emotional history. They need shared experiences, trust, disagreements, difficult decisions, and moments that change the way they see one another. If the relationship is built only around sweet scenes and romantic ambiguity, the initial excitement may eventually become difficult to maintain. A stronger relationship develops through conflict and growth. When two characters face challenges together, their smallest interactions can become more meaningful. A glance can carry the memory of an earlier event. A decision to protect someone can reveal how much the relationship has changed. Even silence can become powerful when the audience understands what the characters are feeling. For that reason, the chemistry between Tan Songyun and Liu Xueyi should ultimately be judged through the complete story rather than one promotional image. The Qixi's material creates anticipation, but the plot will determine whether that anticipation becomes genuine emotional investment. Romance is only one part of the story. Another important aspect of Lanxiang Rugu is the connection between romance and family conflict. The female lead's emotional journey does not appear to exist separately from the larger world around her. Her relationships, family interests, social position, and personal decisions can all influence one another. That creates opportunities for more complicated storytelling. What happens when love conflicts with family interests? What happens when someone who once caused pain returns? Should the character seek revenge, forgiveness, or another solution? How does she decide whom to trust? These questions can give the story more depth than a simple romance. The most interesting character may be one who gradually learns that every decision carries consequences. Early in the story, she may have little control over what happens to her. Later, she may discover that she has the ability to influence events herself. That is a significant difference. It transforms the character from someone reacting to fate into someone actively shaping her own future. The wedding may be a turning point, not an ending. This is perhaps the most important reason to look beyond the Qixi image. A wedding traditionally suggests the conclusion of a romantic journey. In a period drama centered on character development, however, it can also mark the beginning of another stage. The relationship may face new responsibilities after marriage. Family relationships may become more complicated. The characters may discover that emotional closeness does not eliminate external pressure. In that sense, the wedding can be both a romantic milestone and a narrative transition. There is currently no confirmed information in the supplied material that establishes exactly what will happen afterward. Therefore, it would be premature to describe the wedding as either a guaranteed happy ending or the beginning of a specific tragedy. What can be said is that the promotional material creates an intriguing contrast. The image looks joyful. The larger story appears more complicated. That contrast is one reason the Qixi promotion has attracted attention. Why Tan Songyun's transformation matters. According to the information provided, Tan Songyun's character is not simply expected to become more powerful. She is expected to become more capable of choosing her own path. That distinction matters. A character can gain status without gaining independence. True, growth happens when experience changes the way a person thinks. The female lead may begin by accepting circumstances because she has few alternatives. As she gains experience, she may become better at reading situations, understanding other people's motives, and protecting her own interests. Eventually, she may no longer be someone who simply accepts what others decide. That journey from humility to maturity could become the emotional core of the drama. And if Tan Songyun communicates those changes through subtle acting, the character may feel more realistic and layered. The audience does not necessarily need to be told that she has changed. They should be able to see it. Liu Xueyi's role in the emotional story. Liu Xueyi's presence is also important, because the male lead's relationship with the female lead can influence how both characters develop. The supplied information does not provide enough confirmed details to describe the complete trajectory of their relationship. What it does establish is that their pairing has attracted attention and that the promotional material encourages viewers to think about their romantic connection. The key question will therefore be whether their relationship contributes to the broader story. A compelling romance should not simply make the characters happy. It should also reveal who they are. Love can test trust, conflict can reveal values, difficult choices can expose priorities, and shared experiences can change both people. If the relationship between Tan Songyun and Liu Xueyi's characters is developed through those elements, their chemistry could become much more meaningful than what a single Qixi poster suggests. The real test comes with the story. Promotional images are powerful because they create an immediate emotional response. The red wedding costume is visually memorable. The Qixi timing makes the romantic atmosphere even stronger. The pairing of Tan Songyun and Liu Xueyi naturally invites discussion, but promotional material can only create anticipation. The finished story has to deliver the emotional logic behind those images. The audience will ultimately want to know whether the character development feels natural, whether the family conflicts make sense, whether the romance develops gradually, and whether the female lead's transformation is supported by believable experiences. If those elements work together, the Qixi wedding could eventually feel like an important milestone in a much larger character journey. If they do not, it may remain simply a beautiful promotional moment. At this stage, there is not enough information to make that final judgment. Final thoughts. Tan Songyun's red wedding look alongside Liu Xueyi has certainly created a memorable Qixi image. The visual appeal is obvious, but the more interesting discussion goes beyond appearance. The wedding may represent romance, but it may also signal a new stage in the female lead's life. Her journey from a cautious and humble position toward greater maturity, independence, and personal choice could ultimately be more important than the wedding itself. Meanwhile, the pairing of Tan Songyun and Liu Xueyi has created curiosity about their screen chemistry. Whether that chemistry becomes truly convincing, however, will depend on the characters' interactions and development throughout the story. According to the information currently available, the exact meaning of the wedding and the events that follow remain unconfirmed. So for now, the Qixi image should be viewed as a strong promotional moment rather than proof of a particular ending. The red veil may suggest happiness, but the larger story leaves room for questions. Will the wedding become the beginning of a new romantic chapter? Will it introduce greater family pressure? And most importantly, when the female lead finally reaches this new stage of her life, how much has she changed from the woman audiences first met? That may be the question worth watching most closely.